I am literally going to explode into bits. This chapter of Chainsaw Man has so much going on that this video is going to be a super special long edition of my regular video. We're gonna talk all about Asa-den, Fami's long and winding road of brain damage recovery, Katana and Haruka talking that mad shit, and me, because I'm gonna explode. I'm supposed to tell you to subscribe and drop a like on the video. I won't this week. Instead, I'll just tell you to have a nice day. So, have a nice day! Picking up from the last chapter, Denji, recovering from multiple blows to the family jewels, pushes through the pain as Yoru looks down upon him in expectation of a fight to immediately ask about Nayuta instead. That's all Denji wants to know about is Nayuta safe. So when Yoru goes to pull his starter saying, "Who's Nayuta? If you're still dreaming, I'll wake you up, yarr." Denji grabs her arm, stops her and tells her, "I don't know if I'm dreaming or what, but if Nayuta's safe, I'll fight you all you want. Find her, please." And besides my terrible voice acting, I found this dialogue telling about Denji's current mental state. And obviously, Nayuta is the only thing on his mind right now. He would do anything to have her saved, even if it meant turning into Chainsaw Man and breaking his role to do so. He'd even go as far as to do it all the time for Yoru and fight her all she wanted if it meant Nayuta is just safe. The bond between these two is very strong, and they both depend on one another, but Denji really does the most. Very clearly, there is no direction for Denji without her in his life, which is interesting when you think about it, because how would Chainsaw Man Part 2 differ without Nayuta? She's the only one who has been able to ground Denji in a way that he hasn't had since Aki or Power. I know there is the joke about Denji being Chainsaw Dad instead of Chainsaw Man, but I really do think it's true. When you have someone that young that you need to take care of, your life stops becoming about your needs, wants, and desires first. They become secondary to protecting, raising, and loving the child that you are, well, raising. I think obviously that's why Denji begged Yoru and the others to help find her the first moment he was able to speak. Life stopped becoming about Denji the moment she entered his life and started becoming about his family, because his family is all he has left. There is nothing left without them. He is alone in the world. That's why he put away Chainsaw Man. He knew that would make him lose Nayuta, and that's something he wouldn't be able to live with. On Yoru's side, of course she would act this way. She's a devil and only cares about fighting Chainsaw Man to prove she is powerful and this and that. It's all about ego with her. She can't possibly understand what it's like to love another human being because there is no love in war. This is why in that moment, as Yoru freezes not knowing what to say, at least that's how I interpreted it, Asa regains control and calmly asks, "What happened?" While Asa is pretty much, an Asa-tistic mess of a human being during these, every single time we've actually seen her throughout the entire series so far, it does show a level of maturity that I quite respect, to where she can snap out of the whole Yoru thing and actually care for Denji. Yeah, throughout the entire chapter, Asa has these moments where she contradicts herself like every single time, and she's very immature, as she usually is, but at the same time, it's very clear that Asa cares for Denji enough to actually listen to his troubles and worries, which is better than pretty much 95%. That's probably too low of a number. Like 99.9% of the people in this series, like who outside of Nayuta cares this much about Denji? Who? Also, another tweet that was brought to my attention here from CEO of Wet Cat Denji? What the hell does that mean? Anyways, they say Yoru doesn't remember meeting Nayuta and being turned into a dog. The memory change is still working. Nayuta is still alive, and as you can see, it says here in this panel, "Who's Nayuta? If you're still dreaming, I'll wake you up." So there you go. There's your answer. That means Nayuta is still alive. Besides the obvious, factors of Nayuta being alive, like the fact that she's the freaking control devil. Why would they just kill her? So yeah, I thought that was an interesting tweet though. As this happens, we get a transitional shot of men and women walking through a busy street, talking, focusing, and laughing. All the while, a man is seen with a chainsaw protruding from his head, dead as he has presumably been stomped or beaten to death. It's a small moment, but showcases the state of the world right now, and probably the feeling Denji has right now, which is emotionally beaten down and dead. He gets a good look at what has happened to his home and the final resting place of his family. His jaw drops as he sees it's all been burnt down to the ground. Nothing remains but the charred skeleton of what used to be an apartment. As a more personal anecdote, at one point in my life, my family owned some property and a similar situation happened to Denji that happened to me. And I can tell you all from personal experience that this motionless, shaken Denji is exactly what I felt in those moments when you look at what is left. And it really is hard to look at a place that you've lived in for so long to see it all burnt down. It doesn't feel real, and it's like your soul leaves you. Haruka is a little nervous as he stutters out Chainsaw Man's name, which I found interesting. You'd think he'd be calling him Denji, but I guarantee you, Haruka is still in shock and doesn't even know what to call him at all. He nervously states that if she's not here, then there is nothing more that they can do to help him or her. But Denji, throughout the rest of the chapter, starts to sift through the charred rubble of what once was his home as Yoru tells him that this is enough and that he already knows the truth. When he escaped, Nayuta was attacked by armed adults and has since been killed, and sheesh, talk about harsh. While I can understand why Yoru would come to this conclusion, after all, she is the embodiment of war itself and only knows death, but telling Denji to quit moping as if he can't face reality, while also not even knowing Nayuta or being able to confirm her death, I just think this shows that Yoru is being a little too harsh and somewhat naive to the situation of really, honestly, humans in the context of their relationship. Because when you really think about it, there's no way Nayuta would be killed as she is the control devil. No. I got a theory. So we all know about Miss Makima at this point, right? If you don't, then what the hell are you doing here? I'm worried for you. You should contact an authority figure or an adult or something. But what did public safety do to Makima? Well, they turned her into a monster, so maybe, with this theory, now they basically have Makima 2, Electric Boogaloo, and that we also know that Miss Makima's original control over them, even in death, is still in effect for some of the people. So when you have people still under the control, if they are able to basically find her again, why the hell wouldn't you beat the Miss Makima back into her and have her reign over public safety again? Obviously, like with most theories I talk about here, I'm probably on the spectrum from wrong to embarrassingly wrong, but it is a thought that I'd like to put out there. As Denji continues to sift through the rubble, Asa takes over again, and with her singular arm, which I find interesting, she still hasn't regenerated her arm yet. My guess is she doesn't want to drink the blood of a human, which, that's quite understandable for someone like her. That doesn't exactly sound like a very fun thing to do now, does it? But she holds onto his hand to stop him and says something pretty, cool? Like she doesn't trip, say the wrong thing, or get angry. She just relates to Denji for a nice moment here. Also, trying not to freak out, suppressing all emotions about Asa-den to get through this video without either 1, crying, or 2, this turning into a 3-hour video, or 3, exploding. Asa says that when he saved her as Chainsaw Man, he said he knew how she felt. Well, going back to chapter 127 for context, yes, we're going back that far. In this moment, as the falling devil is unleashed on the world, Asa quite literally gives up and tries to commit suicide by succumbing to the falling devil. She says in that moment, "It's true. I feel so at peace. I won't have to cause trouble for anyone else or get my feelings hurt anymore. I won't have to lie in bed thinking about all the things I did wrong as I wait to fall asleep. Oh, but I do have one regret. Even one person. Even if it was with only one person, with all my heart, I wish I'd..." And at that moment, Denji grabs Asa by the hand, in the exact same way that Asa grabbed him by the same hand in this chapter. She begs for him to let go, to let her die right here because she thinks that she has come to terms with her own life. But Denji knows she's crazy for thinking such a thing to begin with, and she is crazy. Because to Asa, life is nothing but pain, where you are constantly made a fool, where the simplest action of getting your expectations up only ever ends in being let down. There is nothing in life but misery, and Denji has accepted that himself, and at first I'd think Asa has too, but in this moment, I think she was too hurt and with all due respect to a fake person, is a little naive to life itself. So obviously Denji tells her that the worse you feel, the heavier you get. Because at this moment, Denji was literally talking about what they were dealing with the effects of the falling devil in that moment, but it had a double meaning. He tells her to think about dogs and cats and ice cream. Doing this literally anchors her back into reality because these are things that she loves and doesn't want to give up. And she's annoyed by that too. She doesn't want to remember the good things in her life like cats, especially cats. We know how much Asa loves cats and loved cats in the past. And Denji tells her that he knows how she feels, that she needs to believe in him because he has been there. And he has! Chapter 1 of Chainsaw Man shows that Denji has been to those depths of despair, and pretty much all of Part 1, if we're being honest. Asa tells him, what would he know? No one has it worse than her. She's honestly in her head, and she can't escape all of these feelings that she's wrapped up in. It's a tangled mess of emotions. But Denji tells her something beautiful. Just when life seems super awesome, as soon as you let your guard down, some crappy thing happens out of nowhere and screws it all up, right? You know life isn't all bad, but day in, day out, all you can remember is the bad stuff, and the disasters, they just keep piling up like a hamburger made of crap, right? Asa asks him how he got over it, and he tells her the truth, which is that he's not over it. It's sort of like a Hulk thing, you know? He's always angry. Showing that he's still feeling the effects of his childhood and what happened as well with Power, Aki, Himeno, Miss Makima, Rize, and you know everyone else. We know the story, right? Which, if you don't know the story, what are you doing here? Go get some help. Talk to your parent. Why are you here? But he has something to live for, and that he's looking forward to it so much that he'll be willing to eat any crap burger. And of course, he now says the infamous line, sex. But I always sort of thought, just like how we established, I think this means like a double meaning earlier, I think this is a double meaning here for sex being not just sex, but intimacy. Much like how Asa at the beginning of this example was beginning to allude to intimacy as well before Denji cut her off. And the reason I recounted that moment from chapter 127 and made this video way longer than it should be, and my editing time way longer than I probably wanted it to be, is that Denji and Asa are relating to one another at this moment. Now, Denji once again is on the other side, and she's trying to repay the favor that he did for her, which is saving her life. She wants to save Denji now because she relates to him, telling him that she knows how it feels when a family member dies because of their actions. And remember, Asa has experienced much loss like Denji has in honestly quite shockingly similar ways. I mean, they're basically just kind of like the same person if you really think about it. So she tells him that if there's anything she can do to tell her so that she can help him. And it's such a mature moment from Asa that you almost have to think she's beaten the allegations at this point, but not so fast. Denji snaps and is like, first, you kick me in the balls. Now you're trying to be nice to me? You make no sense, lady. Even Haruka, as nervous as he is, couldn't agree more with Denji here. I mean, this is honestly Asa Mitaka in a nutshell. We all know and love her, right? At this point, I mean, if you don't, like I said, you need to find, why are you here? Go away. What are you doing? Anyways, we all know, right? Asa Mitaka in a nutshell does something that completely contradicts said action. She's like a tsundere, but autistic. I love her. She tries her best to get things back on track, but just jumps right into telling him to turn into Chainsaw Man and fight her, so he'll be able to live an ordinary, normal life. How does this help, lady? How does this help? Asa, do you want to support this man or beat this man up? Which is it? Can you decide? I don't know. But Denji responds with a very stern, no. And the reason is the same as it has always been. Every time he turns into Chainsaw Man, everything around him turns terrible and his eyes widen as he realizes he needs to find Nayuta. Asa, realizing that she's failed, tells Fami to do something about this, to which, I'm not gonna lie, I think Yoru and Asa have destroyed this poor girl. I swear to you, I'm not lying when I say that. She says, elbow. Okay, joking aside, she says, maybe he can't fight because he's hungry. Hunger makes you negative. Fami either doesn't understand people or she doesn't understand anything. And I'm not quite sure yet, but maybe being kicked in the head has ruined her. So, Asa being Asa, she's got no backup plans, and so she tells Denji to name anything he wants to eat and she'll treat him to it. On a side note, if the next chapter isn't a very awkward date between Asa and Denji where everything goes so horribly wrong, yet so right, I'm gonna be disappointed. Anyways, delusional daydreaming aside, Denji says there is nothing. And well, maybe sushi. And then the arguing starts. Asa does her best Momo impressions and goes huh? And states, I hate sushi, anything but that. And do you guys ever feel happy? Asking for a friend, of course. Then Katana Man calls Asa a bitch, which is hilarious, considering that my headcanon is that he's calling both Denji and Asa a bitch for funsies, but nah, he's calling Asa a bitch for dissing sushi, which is true. How in the heck does Asa hate sushi? What is wrong with this lady? Like, tripping inside a top secret experimental facility, water under the bridge. Brain damaging family, sure, go ahead. Elbow. But you better be ready to throw hands when you diss sushi. You can't do that. This is not an allowed opinion, and I do not agree to this EULA or these terms of services, iTunes. But at the end of the chapter, Denji is obstinate. He wants sushi, and while this makes Asa do whatever this face is, this man's lost his family. Give him the damn sushi. Go get the sushi. Get to the sushi chopper now. Anyways, as he says sushi, he picks up something. To me, it looks like a box, and I very well could be wrong, but what's in the box? If it is a box, no idea. Cannot theorize as I'm about to explode from Asadin. Also, here's something from Soft Boy Yaki, I believe on Twitter is how you say their name, but they posted this tweet here, which is actually really interesting. It says, Denji asking for sushi instead of steak surprised me, and then I remembered Fujimoto just give the boy back his family, and it's true. Look, as you can see, Aki and Power and Denji are all eating sushi together. So that's something that's actually kind of sad when you think about it, to see how much Denji has lost and how much that he is suffering. And in a way, he sort of continues to suffer as Asa doesn't want to give this man his goddamn sushi. God damn it, Asa, just give him the sushi. Honestly, though, the maturity of Asa Mitaka in this chapter, while not obvious at first because she's just an absolute mess of a person, it's kind of impressive, isn't it? As soon as Denji showed signs of trouble, she was there for him and snapped out of whatever Yoru-induced kerfuffle her tin can was in. And while Asa was full-on Asatistic in this chapter, arguing over freaking sushi, you just know he's gonna get that sushi from her, and that's what counts. So I'm happy. Asadin for life. Greatest chapter since sliced bread. Overall, though, I really am. Honestly, truthfully, I'm so happy with this chapter. And I think whatever plan they hatch to find and retrieve Nayuta will be what I'm most looking forward to now. And as much as I do love Asadin, very close to exploding, I think I love Denji and Nayuta's relationship the most out of any character's relationship besides maybe Power, Aki, and Denji. There is just so much history with these two going back to Miss Makima that I really am. I'm enamored with what Fujimoto is doing with Nayuta and Denji's characters here. She's easily one of the best aspects of part 2 outside of, Asa and Denji. So I'm super mega freaking hyped, and while Bi-Weekly Devil is back, I'm not gonna fret, for we ate well this week, my friends. As well, a small token of my appreciation. Thank you everyone for last week's video getting over 9,000 views. What? To be honest, they could get 5 views and I'd probably still write this segment, but it really is just truly spectacular that these videos continue to do anything to me. It's truly special. I get to have such a large audience every week, so just know that I am working on something for those who view it every week. Not ready just yet. I know I keep teasing it, but we're about there. So thank you everyone for so much support. I love you all, and I'll see you in May.